All right, this is where I'm going to go through the homework for chapter 34, this worksheet. Um, so there's 4 steps. I'm not going to have you write down the information because most of you are just typing it in, and I don't want you to spend too much time typing. So Ohm's law equation, current equals voltage times resistance. And the units are amps equals volts divided by ohms. Now, if you take that and you solve it for resistance, resistance equals voltage divided by current. And then you can also solve it for voltage. Voltage equals current times resistance. So I like to start with voltage equals current times resistance because then if you want to solve for current, you just divide by resistance. And if you want to solve for resistance, then you just divide by current. That's how I remember it. But I'm not asking you to remember it because if you ever need these equations, I'm going to give you all 3 right there. Now, we also write it down just using symbols. A for amps, V for volts, and omega for ohms. So those are the 3 equations again right there. So let's see. Problem number 1. Find the current through a 12 ohm resistive circuit, 12 ohm resistor, when 24 volts is applied. So 24 volts, there it is. You're looking for current, so you're looking for the A for amps. 24 volts divided by 12 ohms gives you 24 divided by 2 is, 24 divided by 12 is 2 amps. Find the resistance of a circuit that draws 0.06 amps with 12 volts applied. So we're looking for resistance equals ohms, volts divided by amps. Okay? So what's our volts? 12 volts divided by 0.06 amps. And if you plug that into a calculator, you are going to get to, I can't do that in my head. Is it 2,000 ohms? Now I need to double check in the answer key. 200 ohms. Sorry, 200 ohms. Find the applied voltage of a circuit that draws 0.2 amps through a 4,800 ohm resistance. So now we're going to voltage equals amps times resistance. So 0.2 amps times 4,800 ohms. And this I think I can do in my head. No, I can't. 960 volts. Do you see where I'm going with this? Obviously, you need a calculator. If you're like me and you're doing this on a computer, you can find a calculator over here. It's usually right there in the menu. And if it isn't, you can type down here and just say CALC, and that will pop up on all your computers. Click on that, and there you go. If you're doing it on a phone, I'm sure your phone has a calculator, but I can't show you how to do that from here. Now let's skip down to where I switch over to power. So the power equation is power equals current times voltage. Now, if I don't give you current and voltage, you can still solve for it. See, if you don't know, current equals voltage times resistance. So if I put V divided by R in for the current, I get voltage divided by resistance times voltage. So I get the voltage squared on top divided by resistance. And it's the same thing if I don't have voltage. If I have current and resistance, then I can put power equals current squared divided by resistance. So power equals these 3 things: current times voltage, voltage squared divided by resistance, and current squared divided by resistance. 90% of the time, we know current and voltage in the real world. So I think I made a mistake. I'm going to reread the question. If a small appliance is rated at a current of 10 amps and a voltage of 120 volts, the power rating would be, so 10 amps times 120 volts, that I can do in my head. That would be 1,200 watts. If a blender is plugged in, how many questions are there? Several. If a blender is plugged in to a 110 volt outlet and you get 2.7 amps of current, what's the power? So I can't do that in my head. What's 110 volts times 2.7 amps? And that answer is going to be, where's the answer key? $297 watts. 297. Now, that's tricky. So let's do that real quick. So I'm telling you that the power equals 2 watts. And the voltage is 1.5 volts. So what's the current? Power equals current times volts. So now I can solve for current. Current equals power divided by volts. Okay? Were you okay with that algebra? So what's the power? 2 divided by 1.5. That's going to give you 1 1/3 amps. I'm going to double check that answer. What's that, number 13? Yep, 1.3 amps. We're good. And that's as hard as it gets right there because you had to solve, you had to go from power equals current times volts and then solve for current. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask any way you can reach me. Thank you very much. Good luck. Bye-bye.